This is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this video lesson. We're going to talk about the arrays in class lab number 3. And so my idea was that you guys would create a race car stats application. And here's the user interface that I wanted to develop. The idea is that the user will enter 3 lap times. I don't care if the units are seconds or minutes, whatever they happen to be. When you click submit, we're going to obtain the sum, and then we're going to obtain the average of those times. Now, what is important is that these items be placed into an array, and then we will create a running sum type of situation where we're going to add 1 to 2, 2 is going to add it to 1, 3 is going to add to 1 and 2, 4 is going to be added to 3, 2 and 1, so forth and so on. And then once we have obtained that sum, we'll display the result over here. You have to use a for loop. We're going to calculate the average, and then we'll display both the results in these labels. Okay, so this is the general idea of what you're going to create. Let me now switch over to Visual Studio so I can show you what it looks like. So here's our graphical user interface. As you can see, I've created txt lap time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to be btn submit. We have lbl sum, and then we also have lbl average. No minimize or maximize button, and then we'll call the title race car stats. Now in terms of the code, let's take a look over here. The first thing that I want to do is to create my comments. So I create declarations, get user input, calculation, and then the output. All right, in terms of the declarations, well, the first thing that I want to do is I want to create an array, which means I'm going to create a constant that indicates the last index. Since we have 5 items to obtain, then the last index is going to be 4, because this will be the 0 index, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I create a constant called last index, and that's going to be given an integer value of 4. And then I use that in the declaration of my array called lap times. And lap times is going to be saving doubles, because a user could enter 33.4 seconds, say for example. And so I want to have the ability given to the user to enter real numbers. I'm going to have to go through a counter to add all of the items within the array, and then I'm going to have to add them up and then obtain the average. So in terms of getting the user input, as you can see over here, we're going to take txt lap time 1 through 5. I'm going to convert them to doubles, and I'm going to place them into the array, which, as you can see here, is a container full of doubles. Once I've obtained all those, let's go through the calculation. So what this section does is it goes through every single one of the array elements. So starting off with index 0, then 1, 2, 3, and it creates a running sum. Now over here, let me make sure that sum is equal to 0. So I set that equal to 0. With the sum equal to 0, we are just simply going to create a running sum. So this will start off with lap times counter, which as you can see here starts off with 0. So in essence, we're doing this. We're saying sum plus lap time, whatever that happens to be for the 0 index, and then that's the new value of sum. Then counter is going to increment, so it's going to go to 1. I'm sorry. It's going to go to, I didn't do that right again. I meant to double click this guy over here. It's going to go to 1, and then 2, and then 3, and so forth and so on. All right, let me restore order over here and put that back to counter. So by going through this, we are going to obtain the sum, and this is analogous to, say, for example, you running around a high school track, and every time you run around a high school track, you are given a value, and you must add that value to the current value that you have. Say, for example, the number of seconds. So maybe you were able to do a lap in 50 seconds, and then the next time you're able to do it in 60 seconds. Well, so far you have a minute and 50 seconds total sum time. And so that's what's happening over here. Every time you're basically taking a lap, you are creating a running sum. Well, once we have that, we can take that sum and we can divide it by however many items we have. Well, that's last index plus 1, and because that's going to indicate the size of the array, and that's going to be your average. Once you've done that, then you can go ahead and convert everything to a string and place the information onto a label. So if I run the program, and if I enter some times, like 12.3, tab 23.4, I'm just entering fictitious numbers here, 40, or random values, I should say, and say, for example, 56.7. Okay, we'll sum, and that's equal to 172.5, and then the average is 34.5. And if I wanted to check that out, what I could do is I can open up the calculator and then just add these values up. So let's see here, what is 12.3 plus 23.4 plus 34.5 plus 45.6 plus 56.7. It looks like that's equal to 172.5, which is exactly what we have in terms of the sum. And then if I divide this by 5, because that's how many elements I have, I'm going to have 34.5, which is exactly what the average is. All right, so this program works, and again, as you can see, by placing the items into an array, it makes it really easy to propagate through the array to obtain whatever I want. In this case, I want the sum of the value, so I'm just simply adding the old value of sum to each individual item within the array to eventually get a total sum. All right, so this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.